Well, good morning, everybody. Let's please gather and sing Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly. Welcome, as always, to all of you. Appreciate you being here. We embrace all that you bring with you, all of your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, all that helps make you who you are. And this includes those of you who are joining us in the room this morning during our first service, as well as the many of you who are live streaming with us. I don't think we have our Zoom group with us anymore. Is that right, Todd?
That's correct.
Okay. So our Zoomers are actually... We do have Ed? Well, hey, Ed. I don't know if Ed can hear us or not, but good to have you, Ed. I think a lot of folks have moved over to the live stream, and then they're getting together to meet on Zoom afterwards to, have fellowship and discussion. So glad that that's working out better for them. Although I miss getting to be able to say hello to folks from around the countries. So, but anyway, hello, everyone. Glad to have all of you here, wherever you're coming from this morning. And do want to make a quick announcement. This Friday at 1 o'clock, we will be having the celebration of life for church member Donna Borden Rhodes. For those who want to put that on your calendar, this coming Friday at 1 o'clock. I should also probably start by saying Happy Easter. I don't know if there are folks here or live streaming who celebrate Easter. I guess we'll celebrate it in our own way. I know the kids always have an egg hunt, so that's fun. It's an awkward holiday for me, and so I've never really done much at church with it. And sometimes people come with an expectation that I'll do something for Easter, but you can only talk about the renewal of life during spring so many times before it gets rather dull. So I just do the usual thing and tell you Happy Easter, and I hope that you have a good day and celebrate it however it is meaningful to you. How's that? Awkward. What's that?
Generosity campaign.
Oh, generosity campaign. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So what brings you here? The theme of our generosity campaign, which is continuing through the month of April, in which we ask our members to help support the life and mission of our church by pledging to our general budget so that we can plan accordingly for the coming year. And our year actually starts in July, so we have a church calendar year that goes from July to July. So that's why we're doing it now. We're going to have to present a balanced budget for our congregation to pass at the annual meeting in June, and we'd like to have a fair idea of what we're going to have. And, please be as generous as possible. Over the years, we've had, a financial downturn, like a lot of places at our church. We had a splinter in which some folks left who actually were very generous contributors. And this has been a hard year for us. We've lost too many members, too many lifelong members. It seems like just about every month we've had a memorial service for somebody that was dear to our hearts, and also we're very generous contributors to the church. And so, I have my concerns, my worries about how the budget's going to turn out this year, and if we're going to have to make more cuts, and what in the world that would look like. So it's a lot of pressure on all of us, including you as contributors. So just want to put that out there. We are definitely in need of your support, and I hope you can give whatever it is you're able to at this time, especially in light of knowing what things are like for us at this time in our church's history. Nevertheless, no amount is too small or too great. As you heard me say in the past, it is actually remarkable how much a few people can raise together by contributing what each can. And it's that old story of the stone soup, where we just give what we can, and before you know it, we're able to feed everybody a tasty, substantial meal. So that's the plan, and I thank you all very much for your continued support and great generosity. All right, before we greet one another, I think there's another dog truth. For those who don't know, we have made it part of our ritual, even though we don't celebrate Easter like we should. We always have a dog truth during our first service. That's just part of the ritual around here. Oh, let's see, I've already done those. Oh, this is a good one. What I like about most people is their dogs. Okay. With that said, let's take a few moments to greet one another. All right, more opportunity is always to visit following our service during our social period. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening words this morning are from Maya Angelou. The ship of my life may or may not be sailing on calm and amiable seas. The challenges of my existence may or may not be bright or promising. Stormy or sunny days, glorious or lonely nights, I maintain an attitude of gratitude. If I insist on being pessimistic, there is always tomorrow. Today I am blessed.
And if you can turn to 142 and sing together, Let There Be Light. Let there be light, let there be understanding, let all the nations gather, let them be face to face. Open our lips, open our minds to ponder, open the door of concord, opening into grace. Perish the sword, perish the angry judgment, perish the bombs and hunger, perish the fight for gain. Let there be light. Open our hearts to wonder. Perish the way of terror. Hollow the world God made.
It's now time to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds. And I should say that's not a hymn that we've sung very often, and I really liked it. We'll have to sing that more. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was very good for today in particular. So we're going to begin with, as we have been for years now, on behalf of the people around the world that are suffering the worst impacts of the wars that are going on, the people of Ukraine, the people of Russia, the people of Israel, and the Palestinian people, people of Gaza, Iranian people. There's so many people. Ultimately, everybody in the planet is or should be impacted by such pointless aggression and violence. But those who are suffering the absolute worst impacts of it are heavy on our hearts and our thoughts. With that, let's take a moment of silence as usual on behalf of those that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud if you'd like. those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And I do believe we have a special collection. I'm a little embarrassed. Do we not? There's no envelope? Yes, there is. We do? Oh, is it up on the board? There we go. Thank you. Because I know it got switched, and I was planning on one that's been moved to May. So there you go. Jewish Voice for Peace, which envisions a world where all people from the U.S. to Palestine live in freedom, justice, equality, and dignity. That's an organization that has been around for a long time and is needed more so today than ever, especially when even in our free nation, even simply protesting what's happening to Palestinians gets somebody labeled anti-Semitic, maybe even removed from the country. We had a rabbi, Michael Davis, come to speak at the church back in 2019, I believe. We made history. It was the first time in a Unitarian church that a Jewish rabbi spoke during a Sunday service about the plight of the Palestinian people. And we were highly criticized for that, so was he. In fact, he's experienced repercussions from that, but Rabbi Davis was part of Jewish Voices for Peace. That's how we found him and were able to get to know him and bring him out here for that purpose. So this is an organization that, as I say, is not only vital in our world, but has personally impacted our own community, as we did something that was controversial and courageous, which is sad to say, given all we did was talk about people who are suffering, who need to be treated with justice and respect. So if you want to contribute to this, please use the special collection envelope in your order of service. And if you're online, you're welcome to go online and just identify your gift as such, and we will get it to Jewish Voices for Peace. So we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Such a treat to have you gift us with your music every Sunday. Well, this morning I wanted to share a little bit about a place that I got to go last summer. After years of encouragement from Sunny Cook's granddaughter, Laura, my son and I attended the Elliott Institute at CBEC, which since 1947 has been offering intergenerational camp experiences for Unitarian Universalists, their friends, and families. So truly inclusive. Most of the people who attend are from Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia. And I've got a story written from the perspective of a child who might be attending Elliott. Ding, ding, ding. The meeting house bell awakens the camp at 7:30 a.m. Breakfast is at 8. They have oatmeal, fresh fruit, bagels, toast, yogurt with granola, juice, milk, hot chocolate, and some of my favorite kids' cereals. They also sometimes have eggs and waffles. Then I get to go up the hill with my family to the meeting house for ingathering, where we sing and listen to a story. The adults sing us out to our morning program, while they get to stay and listen to the speaker, but we split into groups. The under threes and preschool children are called the littles. The elementary age kids are sometimes split into lower and upper elementary. The MAGs, that stands for middle-aged group, is 6th through 8th graders, and there's a youth group for high schoolers. I head off with my group, and we spend the morning having fun and learning together. Depending on our age, we might play games, read stories, sing songs, do art projects, play on the playground, go for hikes in the woods, explore at the beach, or have some other fun adventures. Each age group has their own traditions varying by camp. And in August, the MAGs make peace boats in remembrance of World War II, and the youth hold their own coffee house. Lunch is at 12:15. I can choose to eat meals with my friends or with my family. If I'm really sleepy, I might take a nap. But in the afternoon, there's lots of other activities for me to choose from. I might go swimming in the lagoon and earn special badges for my bracelet, participate in sports or play board games, make something at the tie-dye station, play make-believe in the forest, sit and talk with friends, and so much more. I get to decide, so long as I check in with my parents and follow the rules and the boundaries that they set. They're in charge of me when I'm at camp. Dinner is at 6 o'clock with evening events to follow. I could sing at the campfire, join in a game like charades, listen to Elliott Talks, which are a little like TED Talks, or go to worship with my family late at night. I hear there's a super cool dance on the last night of camp too, but the children's curfew is 10 o'clock. I can't wait to see all my friends and spend a whole week away from home. I'm going to have so much fun this summer at Elliott. There is information on the children's table out front, but please feel free to ask me any questions if you have them about Elliott at CBEC. Thank you.
For this morning's meditation, I invite you to consider the words of Lama Suradas. With every breath, the old moment is lost, a new moment arrives. We exhale and we let go of the old moment. It is lost to us. In doing so, we let go of the person we used to be. We inhale and breathe in the moment that is becoming. In doing so, we welcome the person we are becoming. We repeat the process. This is renewal. This is life.
upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed, and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of our Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful. As I noted earlier, a sermon about the singularity is not really an Easter sermon, but in some ways it is. Just before I officially begin, the first thinker I encountered that foresaw a future in which people would become something far different than we are today due to our merging with technology was a through a book written by physicist Frank Tipler. It's just a used book I found on a shelf somewhere for back about 20 years ago, just for a few bucks, and it was called The Physics of Immortality. Not rise from the dead, because people can't rise from the dead. But there will be a time when people can. But his reference to these sort of descendants of humanity that were perhaps more robotic or mechanical or digital than we are as people who would feel, was pretty stunning to me, and it really evoked an interest in the topic that I'll be talking about today. I won't be mentioning Frank Tipler. There's others who have taken that idea to a next level. But in that sense, it is an appropriate Easter sermon. I mean, I think there is something of the idea of resurrection or transcendence when you start thinking seriously about this topic. And already there are artificial intelligence that have been programmed with the thinking of one luminary, right? So you can go in and in some sense speak with that historical figure who is no longer with us, but get responses based upon their documented thinking. This again is just a tip of the iceberg. This is 2025, so we have some ways to go. But I want to begin, rather than talking about the future, talk a little bit about the past, because it has been for thousands of years that human beings have been both attracted to and repelled by the idea of someday creating artificial humans. We've long imagined what it would be like to have them perform our heaviest labor and most menial task, yet also feared what might happen should they decide to turn on us. The golem of Jewish folklore, for example, is such a creature. Made of mud or clay and brought to life by magic, the golem, meant to help and protect its creator, often becomes uncontrollable and dangerous. Adam, which also means mud, the first man, according to Jewish tradition, was called a golem until he received the breath of God, suggesting that a golem, which means unfinished man, that's what the word means, can have the shape of a person but is not considered human because it is without a soul or spirit. Mary Shelley's famous 1818 horror novel Frankenstein is a similar fable. Its subtitle, The Modern Prometheus, denoting the Greek figure who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, is a reference to science's attempt, through its fictional avatar, Victor Frankenstein, to acquire abilities for itself that were once considered the sole privilege of the gods. Yet Frankenstein's creation is not a monster by nature, but is turned into one after being rejected and mistreated by mankind. Let him live with me in the interchange of kindness, the monster pleads, and instead of injury, I would bestow upon him every benefit with tears of gratitude at his acceptance. One of the most memorable versions of this story for me is a 1964 episode of the Outer Limits television series entitled I, Robot, patterned after, of course, Isaac Asimov's novel, about a robot on trial after being wrongly accused of killing its creator. Although innocent, once the jury learns that the robot has read the Frankenstein novel, it decides the mechanical man had been influenced by it and must be guilty. Unlike Shelley's monster, however, this robot has been raised with love and kindness by its human creator. Outside the courthouse, while being escorted for demolition, the condemned automaton suddenly and violently breaks its restraints, but not to escape or attack its captors. It has spotted a child in the street about to be run over by a truck. It moves swiftly to push the girl aside as it is itself demolished by the truck in her stead. And looking upon those mangled remains, a newspaper reporter, played by Leonard Nimoy, satirically says, "That terrible monster won't ever harm anyone again." The stories of I, Robot and Frankenstein's monster evoke my empathy and remorse over how they were misjudged and mistreated, which I think is what their authors intended. But the tendency to fear such figures is so common that psychology has given it a name: automatonophobia. Yes, automatonophobia, the fear of figures designed to resemble humans. These can include humanoid robots, along with wax figures, mannequins, animatronic characters, dolls, and, might I add, puppets. In fact, I'm so aware of this that I always observe a child's reactions before getting too close with one of my puppets. They seem to have an attraction to them, but also want to keep their distance. Even many adults get creeped out walking past the puppet collection on the wall in my basement. Such innate fear has been exploited in horror films like The House of Wax in 1953 about vengeful wax figures coming to life, and Tourist Trap in 1979 about a deranged telekinetic psychic who uses violent mannequins to attack museum visitors. There's also horror films like Puppet Master and its sequels, along with The Chucky Phenomenon, a series of 8 films so far, and now a TV series about a wisecracking doll possessed by the evil spirit of a serial killer. And my favorite of them all is the recent movie Megan, about an artificially intelligent doll that will stop at nothing to fulfill her programming, including harming anybody who gets in her way. And that Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator film should be counted among such tales goes without saying. So I bring this up at the start of my discussion about the fast approaching singularity for 3 reasons. Firstly, people are generally fearful of the future, a fear that may be irrationally exacerbated by the advent of artificial intelligence and humanoid robots, whether we have automatonophobia or have simply watched too many scary movies. Secondly, as I have just indicated, such figures are no longer the stuff of horror stories and science fiction. They already exist and are advancing at an exponential rate and are predicted to eventually outnumber us human beings, hopefully to serve us, not to replace us. Tesla CEO Elon Musk made international headlines last October when he predicted that this will occur by 2020. More than a dozen companies racing. In a recent Wired article, Danelia Russ, the director of the Computer and Artificial Intelligence Lab at MIT, world to the real world we inhabit. Expanding AI beyond its digital boundary demands reworking how machines think, fusing the digital intelligence of AI with the mechanical prowess of robots. 2025. During the next couple of years, AIs will gain an increasing amount of agency, meaning that instead of just conversing with us, they will do things for us, like find and book dishes and laundry and even cook our meals. Like all technology, this should free us to focus our time, our energy. Third reason I've begun by discussing artificial intelligence is because it seems to be the technologies, infusing our world with intelligent machines that can do what we need them to do with little effort or input from us. More importantly, AI will allow us to address our greatest challenges, from cancer to climate change, from energy to housing, from poverty to human rights. with the speed and intelligence. Still, there's a lot going on that's competing for our attention right now, especially in light of the global, the biggest story in human history. Which means everything we know is about to change. Faster than some may want, and faster than few of us can imagine. One person who has been able to foresee it, however, is scientist, inventor, and futurist Ray Kurzweil. In 1999, for example, Kurzweil began predicting that by 2029, right, just 4 years from now, computers will pass the Turing test, being able, that is, to convince us that we are talking to a person rather than a machine. Some say we've already reached that. The problem is they're so smart we can tell they're not human. Right? They have to dumb themselves down a little to pass the Turing test. Back then, up until very recently, most other computer and technology experts thought that his prediction was off by decades, if not centuries, if ever. In Transcendent Man, a 2009 documentary about Kurzweil, Kevin Kelly, the author of several best-selling books about technology and the founding editor of Wired magazine, to give his credentials, said, "I think there's a lot of things that Ray is correct about, but he's completely off on the timing." But now just about everyone, including the experts, agree that we will achieve the level of computer intelligence that Kurzweil predicted by 2029, if not before. Some are saying by 2026 now, making his original forecast a little late, which he likes to tease his former critics by pointing out. Kurzweil borrows the term singularity from mathematics and from physics, but uses it only as a metaphor, just to demystify this term. In mathematics, it describes an undefined point. In physics, it's a point where the laws of physics break down and that is so dense that nothing can escape it. No light, no information. And that's what he means by the technological singularity. It's a point in time when technology leads to such change that we have no idea what the future will be like. We cannot conceive it. We cannot imagine it. Like a black hole, no information is coming back to us. We have no way of detecting what comes next, no notion of what's beyond the singularity. And coming from Kurzweil, this is quite an admission, given that he spent most of his 77-year long life forecasting the future based on his predictions about technological advancements. He made 147 predictions in the age of spiritual machines alone, 86% of which have come true, according to a 2011 report on SingularityHub.com. Far from being a psychic, Kurzweil has been using a reliable mathematical formula that he has named the law of accelerating returns, based upon the rate with which technology exponentially advances. If you know the speed at which the number of transistors, for example, can be placed on a computer chip doubles, right? The speed at which they double, it's easy to calculate how many years it will take for computer processing to reach a certain speed, which is why Kurzweil estimated that by 2029, a $1,000 unit of computation in $1999 will have the computing capacity of approximately 1,000 human brains. Here are just a handful of the 1999 predictions he forecast would exist only 10 years later in 2009. Users would store their information, music, and movies on their computers and devices. Digital music and books would largely replace physical media. Electronic documents would replace paper. Media would become digitized with instant downloads possible. Cables would be replaced by wireless technologies. Computers would include video cameras and facial recognition capability. A $1,000 computer would be able to do 1 trillion calculations per second. Computers would be central to the educational process, and all students would have one. Learning at a distance, e-learning, would become commonplace. Computers would double as telephones. So you can understand from just these examples why many take notice when Ray Kurzweil makes a prediction, and why his 2005 book, The Singularity is Near, and its recent 2024 sequel, The Singularity is Nearer, are both tremendous bestsellers. The subtitle of the latter is When We Merge with AI. The Singularity is Nearer, When We Merge with AI. That's how Kurzweil now defines the moment we reach the singularity, as the moment when human intelligence merges with machine intelligence. In other words, using the law of accelerating returns, we can reasonably predict how and how fast technology will advance right up until the point, it reaches the point, I should say, that will change our existence so dramatically that we simply cannot imagine what it will be like, what life will be like. That's the technological singularity. Whatever follows once humanity gains superintelligence. What will it be like when we gain superintelligence? We can't even imagine. We can't predict. There's no mathematical formulas that will help us look at what's going to become of technology and existence beyond that point. Between now and then, Kurzweil predicts that the 2020s will be remembered as the decade when artificial intelligence became increasingly embedded in our daily lives, not just through language models like ChatGPT that have recently had such a profound entrance into our lives, but also on our healthcare, our education, transportation, and even how we make moral decisions. He foresees the rise of what he calls narrow superintelligence, systems that far surpass human ability in specific domains, such as diagnosing diseases and analyzing scientific data, which has already begun. In fact, if you have a doctor that isn't following up their diagnoses with AI, you might consider them engaging in malpractice. By the early 2030s, the narrow intelligences will begin to converge, allowing for the creation of general superintelligence, machines with cognitive capabilities equal to or greater than human beings in every meaningful way. At this point, I mean, just imagine a billion geniuses smarter than Einstein in the world, just a few years away. And at this point, we will begin to merge with AI, enhancing our brains through neural implants, BCIs, brain-computer interfaces, and nanotechnology, extending our intelligence, memories, and even our lifespans probably indefinitely. As noted, Kurzweil remains convinced that by 2029, AI will convincingly pass the Turing test, and by 2045, we will reach the singularity itself. 2045, 20 years away. A moment so transformative that it will mark a new chapter in human evolution, if not human existence. Of course, two of his predictions must come true before this can happen. The first is advanced AI, which, as discussed, is already well on its way. But what about the technology necessary for us to merge with it? You've likely heard of Neuralink, right? The company that in 2024, not too long ago, successfully implanted a BCI, a brain-computer interface, into the brain of a quadriplegic man who can now control a computer mouse with his thoughts. As impressive as this is, it's pretty invasive. It has a lot of risk and does a lot of damage to existing neurons, right? Even though those 1,000 fibers that go in are thin as a hair, there's no space in the brain. It's all folded and crumpled up, and so it literally destroys a lot of neurons entering into the brain. So it's very evasive. But it's not a good solution for those of us who might want to improve our memories but aren't as desperate as Neuralink's first patient to be able to have some agency in the world. But just this week, I learned of a new company called Science Corporation, founded by Max Hodak, the founder and former president of Neuralink, that is using a small device loaded with millions of stem cells-derived neurons. Right, millions, not 1,000. That'll rest on the surface of the brain without invading it to create chemical synapses that spread into damaged areas of the brain, growing both axons and dendrites so that they can be guided by a computer and give feedback to those overseeing the process. Science Corporation will begin primate trials later this year and expects to go into human trials as early as next year, beginning with stroke victims. And I've seen some of the brain scans of, what's going on, and literally you see new brain cells or neurons finding their way in damaged areas in the brain. It's absolutely remarkable. And expecting that this will then repair regions of the brain that are currently considered irreparable. So we're also well on our way to meeting Ray Kurzweil's deadline for effective BCI by the early 2030s. Right? We'll have it. We already have it to some extent, but it's going to advance a lot by then. Okay, so why do I believe that this topic is important and pertinent enough to discuss during a Sunday service, especially on Easter? Because, as I said, with everything else that we're concerned about today, few of us are even aware of, let alone thinking about, the unprecedented transformation that is upon us. We're only 20 years away from 2045, which means things are going to start getting even weirder and more unpredictable than they are right now. Everything is about to change. So what does this period of rapid exponential change mean for us? I mean, we don't know because it's the singularity, right? We don't know what's going to be beyond that, but what's going to happen during the next 20 years? I wonder how governments will work. Or if they will even make sense when we're all connected in the cloud. Will democracy make sense? Or will we argue, so to speak, and come to a consensus automatically? Unafraid to entertain any of the new and better ideas that we process together. Today, our church is working to restore and preserve Unitarianism, but will there be any interest or need for our liberal religion or any religion when the singularity arrives? Will humanity as a whole upload into another plane of existence entirely, transcending the boundaries of our biology? Scary as that might sound for some, these are no longer science fiction questions. They are the questions that are facing us. Serious questions that will define our place in a radically transforming world. And if we are wise, we won't wait for the singularity to arrive before we begin preparing for it, not with fear, but with intention, not with panic, but with purpose. Not asking, what kind of future do we fear, but what kind of future do we want? Technology will soon outpace us in intelligence. So the most important thing that we can do right now is to stay human. Not in the sense of resisting the future or change, but in the sense of carrying our best values forward into it, no matter what these next 20 years look like. If we are to merge with AI, as it appears we will, then let us be deliberate about what merges. Let our humanity remain coupled with it. Let it be imbued with our compassion, our curiosity, our creativity, the best of us. Let it inherit our love of freedom and reason and tolerance, even if Unitarianism is no longer needed. And ultimately, let it share our beliefs in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, of all peoples, and of every living being. And let us move into this future with the sense of adventure and of wonder that has always allowed us to overcome our trepidations in order to discover new places and new ways and new ideas. If AI is to learn from us, let us teach it by our example, giving it our best, our deepest cares, and our highest aspirations. If it grows alongside us, let it grow from the roots that we have tended, the roots of empathy, of courage, of kindness. We may not be able to control or wholly foresee the future, but we can help shape it. And the shape that we give it, with our values, our ethics, our human spirit, may be the most important legacy we leave. So let us live and lead as if the singularity is near, because it is. And let us meet it not as unfinished golems, but as beings who have breathed deeply from the soul of humanity and are ready not just to survive what's coming, but to become something more through whatever unknowns are waiting for us to discover out there beyond the singularity. Thank you. Thank you.
Please turn to 1017 and sing with us, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way.
For this morning's benediction, words from Baruch Spinoza. Be not astonished at new ideas, for it is well known to you that a thing does not cease to be true because it is not accepted by many. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.